Hi everyone, I'm Paul Stovell, founder and CEO of Octopus Deploy. Welcome to Shipped 2023. We exist to help you ship software, and of course we ship software as well. And so this is a big celebration of shipping software and showing you all the things that we've been working on in 2023 and what the future has in store. My software career started in the early 2000s, and at that time there was this powerful movement around Agile. Instead of spending years designing and building software only to disappoint customers, Agile promised this new way of working. At the heart of Agile was this idea that by doing short iterations, delivering something valuable to the customer, getting their feedback, iterating on the feedback, that we would collaboratively build better software. Rather than software being something that's specified, it was going to be something that would be co-created in this ongoing conversation with the customer. This quote on screen is from the principles behind the Agile manifesto in 2001. And to this day, I think it's still the best articulation of why software teams exist and what customers want from them. Now, if you look at this quote, it talks about two things: the continuous nature of delivering software and the value of the software. And I don't know about you, but value is really hard to get right. If you're a genius, maybe you come up to the perfect idea and you build it and you ship it and they love it. But for most of us, we start with this kernel of an idea that will be useful, and it gets hammered into shape in the furnace of customer feedback that comes with that. In my consulting days before I started Octopus, when I reflected on the projects that went well and the ones that didn't, it became obvious that the deployment process was this critical unblocker. Deployment is this magic moment where software goes from being an idea that works on your machine or a demo that people can and nod to something that they can hold for themselves, that they can use, that they can develop a real opinion about, and that they can give you feedback about, feedback that you can really action. On projects where we could deploy easily, we had these wonderful collaboration opportunities with customers, and they saw us as enablers on their journey. On projects where we couldn't deploy easily or it happened, very infrequently, our relationship with the customer was always on this continuous decline. There were very few moments to put something in their hands, get real feedback from it, and iterate on it. At the time, this is back in sort of 2010, CI, source control, they were solved problems. We knew how to use source control and we could check code into Git and we could compile the code and run tests. And everyone thought that CI could do deployments. That's what we all did. There would be a deployment step and you would put your script there, and those scripts became big and unwieldy. And we started to realize that deployments are far more complex and far more important than CI systems were ever designed for. And that's where Octopus was born. We asked, what if a system was built to do CD from the ground up with deployments at the very heart? Deployment is where rubber meets the road. It's where you pass go and collect $100 of customer feedback. It's where works on my machine meets the reality of life in production, where the microservices that were built in chaotic isolation across teams suddenly need to be orchestrated together in a symphony. It's where you deliver 15 things, but you're only remembered for the one bug that you introduced. Deployments where all the enterprise red tape and concerns around risk and compliance wrap themselves around you and they try to hold you back. It's where the baton is passed between dev and ops and gets dropped sometimes along the way. It's where mission critical applications go down, users rage at you on social media, where there's no option to fail fast and all you can do is roll forward while everybody's watching you. It's the rocket launch where people are waiting and holding their breath to see if what you're delivering makes it or if everything bursts into flames. Deployment's the beating heart of how software teams continuously deliver valuable software, and it's the mission that Octopus was born from. And 10 years ago, it was a dream, but today nobody is doing what we do for the kind of scale and complex deployments that we do it. There's end-to-end DevOps platforms that have some basic deployment capability, but no vendor has as many talented people working solely on making complex, hard enterprise deployments at scale work as well as we do with the experience that we have. And for this, we owe a big thank you to all of you. You may know that Octopus was born as a bootstrap, profitable company. We're not heavily venture-backed. And without you, we wouldn't be here. You've put your trust in us to handle our most complex deployments for your most mission-critical systems in your most sensitive environments. And you've worked with us as we've iterated on our product and our business model. And we wouldn't be here without you. So thank you so much for being a customer. As you know, we focus on three core parts of the continuous delivery pipeline: release orchestration, deployment automation, and runbook or day two automation. And our ambition is to set the standard for those things. And that's it. We're not trying to do source control. You've solved that already. We're not trying to automate your builds or track your bugs or to build dashboards. You've got all of those. But deployments are complex. No one says don't check in code on Friday or don't update Jira on Friday, but they'll warn you about the consequence of deploying on Friday, and for good reason. And we go deep, whether it's virtual machines to cloud native, on-prem to cloud, supporting the most complex deployments rolling out across hundreds and thousands of retail stores. There's no other product that does what Octopus does. Deployments start simple and over time they grow in complexity. And we're the only product that takes that scale and complexity in its stride. And just as your applications and CI/CD pipelines are evolving, Octopus is evolving too. We see a lot of teams starting to focus not just on how do I build a tight CI/CD pipeline for each of my applications, but with this explosion of applications that we have, how do we do that in a way that scales, where we've got hundreds or thousands of applications to maintain, but we don't want to have to maintain hundreds of thousands of independent CI/CD pipelines. But at the same time, we have to accept that applications are different realities, the complexities of them, and so we need to be able to support that too. And so we're really focused on how do we enable platform teams to go about this right. There's a lot of tooling in the platform engineering space in particular that is very focused on generating stuff. And it works great on day one, but day two, that's a lot of stuff to maintain that's getting generated. And we're thinking long and hard and working actively on a roadmap that's going to make life a lot easier for platform teams trying to do CD at scale. So in 2023, was laying the foundation for this. You'll see in the sessions coming up a lot of talk and showing the things that we've been doing around Kubernetes in particular and enterprise GitOps. Kubernetes, of course, becoming very quickly the enterprise standard for compute, displacing virtual machines. The everything as code movement is a big part of the work that we've done this year, obviously around config as code, our Terraform providers, and a lot of other things that you'll see. And then tenanted deployment, something that Octopus is uniquely good at handling, but deploying to whether it's hundreds of retail stores, hospitals, hotels, any site where you've got physical brick and mortar locations, and that's what production deployments look like. Or if you're deploying SaaS applications where every customer gets their own infrastructure, this is something that Octopus uniquely models well. And we've been very focused this year on how do we do that at scale? How do we do that across not just hundreds of tenants, but thousands of them in the UX and the performance of it? And lastly, you're scaling and we're scaling with you. So how do we make Octopus Cloud the best place to run Octopus? How do we handle the kind of scale that you're running at? And how do we continue so that Octopus is taking your scale in its stride? Now, I'll end on this slide. We've got 5 values as a company, and one of them, they're inspired by the Agile manifesto, is that we value listening to customers over following market trends. So what you're not going to see today is a whole lot of slides around how we're using AI to enable Octopus or other things that external people might be interested in, but you as a customer with real deployment problems to solve are perhaps a bit less interested in. The quote that I shared at the start around from the Agile manifesto, our highest priority to satisfy the customer through the early and continuous delivery of valuable software, that applies to us too. Our highest priority is to satisfy you through the early and continuous delivery of valuable software. And so that's what we're here today. Shipped is a chance for us to show you what we've been working on and the work that goes behind it. It's a chance for you to share your feedback with us so we can complete the next iteration and continue to deliver valuable software to you. And so with that, I wish you all a wonderful conference, and I'll hand back to John.